We could be sitting in the golden pocket for opportunities in crypto right now, especially with all of the fearful headlines coming out and everyone betting big on a massive crash around crypto. But not only that, some altcoins like HBAR are providing us with everything we really need to know on exactly why we should be looking into buying more HBAR right now. And in this video, I really want to go over a lot of information on exactly why I think HBAR is not just going to be massive this cycle. I actually think that it's going to be trading at least 10 times higher than what it is right now. So before we really dive on in, I just want to let you guys know that the free Discord link down in the description below is probably one of the best crypto discords that you guys can join. There's over 12,000 additional members in there, and there's a ton of information in there all the time for you guys to grab and look into. So if you guys do want to get into that Discord, join up. You won't regret it. And with that being said, let's dive on in. So number one, when we really think about what's been happening so far around HBAR, in the last month, we are down about 20, almost 1%. In the last year, we're still up about 80, almost 8%. But I do think that we are back into a golden pocket essentially on HBAR, where I think everyone should be focused on, maybe accumulating more, DCAing in. And the reason why I say that is because I do think that the fearful levels around crypto are getting very, very loud. Okay. The overall sentiment is at major fear levels, especially with the war overseas. Everyone is calling it World War III. I think that we are exaggerating it a little bit. But when we really kind of look at this space right now, there's some great opportunities in this market. HBAR right now on the all-time chart is down about almost 63%. So even though we are up 87.7% on the last 1 year, we're still technically down, especially against its all-time high. But it's not just the price action, right? It's not just the price action that's telling us why we should be buying. It's also the overall focus on crypto. I mean, if we go over to Google Trends and we look up, top crypto to buy in the last 5 years worldwide, we're back to these levels around, 12 or so. This is around October, September. I mean, guys, the levels here in which retail is actually participating, looking up crypto, being active around crypto, they're back to, almost all-time lows. HBAR is also back to flat levels. Hedera HBAR back to flat levels. I mean, guys, like when we think about what's happening here, the interest levels around crypto, including, of course, HBAR, it's flat, which tells us that almost no one's paying attention. So when we think about the price action, right, this is what we look like on the 1 month. So like I said, yeah, we had a nice run up. Going off of the all-time high, we are down currently, 72, 73%. From our previous high wick, we're down about 61% or so, about almost 62. And we're back into this area on this chart in which we're retesting. And what is that area? Well, this was the highs and the resistance going back to 2024. This is around February, March, even April, and technically May. So this is all major resistance. So the level in which I'm really kind of interested in HBAR or adding more to my HBAR bag, if I didn't already accumulate around like 4.5 cents, 5.5 cents or so, I would be looking at about roughly 11 cents to about 15 cents. Anywhere within that pocket, I think is a very good opportunity for the long run, because I do think that we will 10x from those levels. I think that $1.50 is not too crazy of a price prediction on HBAR. In fact, we could even go higher. But when we look at this setup here, we're just kind of chopping in a downtrend on HBAR. You could technically call it a bull flag if you want, but it feels very similar to the price action going back here in March of 2021 into about roughly the summer of like June and July. Now, do I think that this is that same exact level? And do I think that the upside potential on HBAR is very limited from here? No, I don't believe so. You got to remember that this move on HBAR from January of 2021 all the way into March and technically all the way into October was because of alt season actually happening. Right now, we know that alt season's not happening. How do we know? Well, number one, we could always look at the altcoin season index and say, all right, well, we're still in a Bitcoin season. Or we could simply just look at Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance is still sitting at about 65%. We have yet to actually experience this, which is alt season. This is when Bitcoin dominance is dropping significantly. And of course, altcoins are going parabolic. Now, I also think that we are getting very close to hitting the top on Bitcoin dominance. I don't think that we have too much longer to go here until we're topped out officially and altcoins go crazy against their Bitcoin pairs. And talking about that, HBAR is in a very similar overall structure compared to the previous downtrends that it has been in. And typically these break out in a very monstrous way. For an example, the first one was back in 2021, actually. We start to have this long extended breakdown, and this was a significant downtrend. I mean, the overall sell pressure here was crazy. I mean, the overall drop was over 89%, almost 90%. But then after we went parabolic, we actually jumped over 1200% in that entire cycle, and that's in one whole year. It's technically not even a full year because we bottomed around the end of December into the beginning of January, and we topped in September of 2021. And also, here we also have the recent downtrend back in April of 2024 into, of course, November. Again, this drop was also pretty significant because we have a significant high wick. This was about 77, almost 78%, and the push to the upside was about roughly 581%. And right now we are in a downtrend yet again, where our current price action is actually around 64.5% down. So I do think that downside is a little bit more limited here, but I think that we could have one last major wick into this red zone. That would take us down to about 75% or so. Key level here that I'm looking at is about a 70% drop. That's retesting macro support going all the way back to January of 2020, and also recent support from April of 2024 as well, before we actually lost that support zone. But I do think from here, we will have a much larger wick to the upside. We'll even break over the February 2023 highs and our previous highs, and most likely target those 2021 all-time highs on this chart. And during that time, of course, HBAR dominance should be looking pretty good. This is what the overall HBAR dominance chart does look like. The red zone is where my demand zone is, about 0.14% to about 0.18%. We're right now at 0.20%. And what I'm looking for is just kind of, a range here, a chop, and then we break to the upside. Again, this is all determined from Bitcoin dominance dropping on this chart and really kind of hitting that topping point very soon. We might have a little bit more time to accumulate, but again, we need to focus on the facts here. And also on top of course, price action and focus on, the crypto space, ETFs. We also know that there was a recent breakdown of all the upcoming digital asset spot ETF decisions and their 2025 approval odds from Bloomberg. Now, if we actually look at this, we could see HBAR has an 80% chance of approval in 2025. It would not surprise me at all if we got an HBAR ETF this year. And the reason why is because of all of the enterprise grade adoption, the institutional focus, and also all of the big moves happening around the Hedera ecosystem in just the last couple months. And this is also another big thing about HBAR on why I think that it's such a big opportunity. It's all of the connections back to some of the largest organizations. For an example, recently, Hedera held a huge presentation, and this was to the Hedera Council members in DC on the importance of industry events, dev outreach, and the ecosystem to activate the global community. During this, they released this slide, which was Hedera, the first public layer 1 to fully donate its code base as open source to a neutral foundation. This is Project Hiro, or Hero if you want to call it Hero. I know that everyone calls it, Hero or Hiro, so, whatever you guys prefer. But regardless, this is to the Linux Foundation, decentralized. And if we actually look at this, we could see exactly what this is doing. Number one, look at the numbers behind this, 120,000 members with meetups as well. Linux Foundation open source summits and Linux Foundation project events, workshops, industry events, activate a global community through events, developer ecosystem, and industry events. This is huge. And again, it just shows you, Hedera is serious about being fully decentralized and making sure that they are enabling this Web3 future. And when we think about the Linux Foundation, right, this is probably one of the biggest organizations out there. If we actually look at the members a part of this decentralized trust, we could see all of the names. Number one, Premier. Right off the bat, we're hit with DTCC, Hedera, and Hitachi. Okay, now zoom in just so that you guys can see this. And then we also have General, which is about 76. You have Accenture on here, American Express. Very big names, even from the space as well. You have like Chainlink here, Cheesecake Labs. You also have, very large mobile companies like T-Mobile. I mean, the list just goes on. There's some very big players as well around tech. IBM is on here. You also have MasterCard, R3. So again, some very large players, and we also have associates as well. I believe that BlackRock is on here as well. I know that they were a part of this, maybe not on this list, but we do know that they are working with the Linux Foundation anyways. But the fact that we have something like this where, Hedera has donated its entire code base as open source to this foundation, it shows us that all of these players that are on here, all of these members could easily tap in and build something on Hedera's code base, which we love to see that. This has opened up the doors for a lot more building, a lot more growth of the ecosystem, and just overall really kind of opening up the doors for more dev outreach as well, which is bringing developers to the space to build some solid applications. Mainly, we really kind of look at DeFi, AI, tokenization, things like that. But again, this is just one organization that Hedera is connected into. And then we also, of course, have Accenture. We just talked about it, right, with Equity Lab. This is their new AI solution. We talked about Accenture, 9,000 plus clients that they have, which is insane, 350 plus partners. And, just another big, player to add to the list. And by the way, this is all happening in just a recent, like in June, in the month of June, all of this has happened. On top of that, BitGo, right? As a Hedera council member, we're excited to build on Hedera's high throughput, low fee network, bringing trusted custody, settlement, and tokenization solutions to institutions worldwide. This just got announced on June 11th. We already knew that BitGo was a GC member, but they are now building. And when we look at the About section of BitGo, the reason why this is so significant is because today, BitGo, is providing the operational backbone for more than 1,500 institutional clients in over 50 countries. They also process approximately 8% of all global Bitcoin transactions by value. So BitGo is a stacked giant. And again, just another name to add to the Hedera list of, big players that they're already working with. And on top of that, we also did get a big GC member added to the list, which was Arrow Global. We already know that this is a Fortune 154 technology leader, pretty big name. They have $28 billion in revenue. They're building a DLT-powered supply chain use case, decentralized governance, and node ops. And this was on June 4th. So like I said, June was massive, and we're not even, we're just halfway through the month. We're not even close to the end of the month. And also, Hedera AI Hackathon. This was also a big one. There was a ton of players that were, participating in this. We actually had over 300 agents that have been launched with more than 7,000 plus weekly NPM downloads and an epic Hedera X AI demo day that garnered over 500,000 views. They already announced some of the big winners from this. This was a huge event, and of course, it's very exciting to see AI becoming a reality on Hedera, but all of this has been happening in the month of June. All of these heavy discussions, meetups, expansions, announcements, partnerships. I mean, guys, Hedera is on absolute fire, and we're just waiting for the price action to actually catch up with it. And the big thing about the price action is that it's very reliant upon Bitcoin dominance actually topping out officially. So right now, most altcoins look like this. They're boring. They're selling off. But, HBAR is still up. I do want to say HBAR is still up 270.94% from the original impulse, going off of the 2022 bear market low completely, still up 333%. So HBAR is not performing bad. It's just the market has been pretty uneventful. And with all of these fears around war and, the sell-off on Bitcoin originally as well, it's stealing a lot of focus away from crypto. Nobody actually wants to participate here because they are worried. They're concerned. They're, putting their dollars into money market funds or just hodling their dollars. but that's the perfect time to actually be looking at this space. Just for an example, right? We have March of 2020, right? Back in March of 2020, I know that HBAR didn't really have that massive of a sell-off, but during this time, almost everyone was barely paying attention to crypto. But if you were paying attention to crypto, even if you bought like the midline, we'll just say the midline, you were up over 1,800, almost 1,900%. Okay, off of the lows, you were up over 3,000+% on HBAR. So again, this is why during peak fear levels and these crazy black swan events that come out of nowhere, it's typically good to be looking into the space on altcoins that are selling off, or maybe even just having a crazy amount of good news behind them, even though the price action isn't there. Because after everything is all said and done and the focus is back on crypto, guess what? These are the types of projects that explode in value, which is why I said, I think that HBAR could easily be trading at 10 times higher than where we are at right now towards the end of the cycle. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, Nick, thanks for watching. Peace out.